All right. Got everybody? Great. As Stacy mentioned, one of the most important pieces of information that we use is the information coming from the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. And when a forecaster has a disturbance going or a full-fledged major hurricane and needs information, these are the folks that he comes to. And Warren will tell us what goes on in this room they call Carca.
Did you tell him it's each $5? $5?
I was saving that for later.
Oh, I said leave. Yeah. I was waiting. I was going to leave a tip jar outside. But
Okay.
Didn't need that. All right. Hi. Good morning. My name is Warren Von Wern, and as Dennis said, this is a rather small but unique office here at the Hurricane Center. And our function is to coordinate with the hurricane specialists their requirements for airplanes. They tell us what they want, and we tell them what they can have, basically. Then we coordinate with the flying units, get the aircraft out to where and when the hurricane specialist wants. We have direct satellite link with all the aircraft, so the data comes directly back to us. We quality control it, we give it to the hurricane specialist, and then we send that out to the world. Now, basically, in 4 sentences, that's what we do in here. Now, to do that, I've got 13 aircraft I can task. I have 2 P-3s, that's the one on the end there. They're flown by NOAA, and they're based at Tampa. Their primary function is to fly research. Many times they'll fly with as many as 10 to 12 scientists on board, and they may just be looking at a certain aspect of a storm. The aircraft that does about 95% of the operational work for the Hurricane Center is the WC-130. That's flown by your Air Force Reserves, and they're at, excuse me, at Biloxi, Mississippi, Keesler Air Force Base. And the last one I have is that we have one Gulfstream jet that again does a different thing than those 2 aircraft. This thing flies very high and doesn't go through the storm. These 2 aircraft are the aircraft that go directly into the storm to provide real-time data for the hurricane specialist. We fly a few different kind of missions. The first one that many times we will fly is what we call an N.W.S. mission. That's when the hurricane specialist thinks he's got something, but he doesn't really know. He can see it on satellite, but he wants to make sure he's got a system before he starts writing and putting advisories out. So we will send an aircraft out to investigate the area. On a flight like that, this plane will be flying very, very low. He wants to get below the lowest cloud deck so he can see the surface of the water to see if there is a circulation. Because if there's a cloud pattern but there's no surface circulation, the system ain't going to develop. Because these systems, of course, develop bottom up. So this, as I said, these aircraft will be flying very low, and they will get that information from the hurricane specialist. Once we have a system, either tropical storm or hurricane, the aircraft will fly a pattern similar to this. Actually, not similar. It will fly this. It's basically an X pattern with the center of the X, of course, being the center of the storm. Each of these legs are about 105 miles long, which always encompasses your hurricane force winds and usually your tropical storm force winds. And if the tropical storm force winds extend out further, we can also, of course, tell the plane to fly longer on a certain leg. These missions are rather lengthy. The aircraft is usually out in the storm for 6 hours. Now, during that 6-hour time frame, usually he passes through the center 4 times. Now, these aircraft are instrumented to take an observation every 10 seconds. That data is compiled on the aircraft, and the computer sends that down to us, which we get in a bulletin every 10 minutes, which we basically plot and give to the hurricane specialist, which is what you'll see right here. What this has, I don't know if anybody knows much about meteorology, but these are wind bobs that tells him the winds at the flight level the aircraft is flying. And also these aircraft actually now carry a radiometer that measures the surface wind. So this aircraft, as he's flying through the storm, he's providing the flight level wind and the surface wind for the hurricane specialist. Also, as he passes through the center of the storm, there's a meteorologist on board that marks the exact center of the storm and will throw out one of these things, what we call here is a drop sound. I don't know if they're going to take you over to the National Weather Service side, the forecast office. But basically what this gives us is information exactly the same as the weather balloon. But instead of going up, it's shot out of the bottom of the plane, it's coming down. It's got a little parachute on the top of it that stabilizes it, and it's got a transmitter. And this thing sends us the exact same data as the weather balloon. It provides us the height of the levels as it's going down, temperature and dew point, and over the last 15 years, now these all have GPS, so we actually get very accurate surface winds all the way down to the surface.
So it's like an electronic buoy?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's like an electronic buoy?
Basically that's it. Yeah, it's dropped from the plane and measures as it comes down. They're biodegradable, one-time use only. You know, basically it's mostly cardboard. So other than the internal stuff, it basically disintegrates.
Do you guys retrieve those? Or
No, they're one-time use only.
Oh, yeah?
That's $750 of your taxpayers' money each time we use one.
Wow.
And on a typical mission, the 130 on a storm mission will throw out about a dozen. So this is not a very inexpensive operation. It's a rather expensive operation. And this is the only country in the world that routinely does weather reconnaissance now. What we do now, of course, we don't fly every single storm. We only fly storms that are a threat to people or land. That's all we really care about. I know out there they care about all of them. Here we only care about things that may be a hazard to you, basically.
You mean like
Normally
Andrew?
what-
You mean like
sorry?
You mean like Andrew?
Oh yes, like Andrew. We flew that for about 8 days.
Yeah.
Till it came over my house.
Yeah.
Then I didn't fly it anymore. Normally what we will do is the aircraft will be in for 6 hours and out for 6 hours. So basically you have aircraft in there 12 out of the 24 hours a day. Until the aircraft gets within 2 days, not the aircraft, until the storm gets within 2 days of possibly making a landfall at the mainland U.S., then basically we'll have an aircraft in there continuously. Normally what we will do is we'll start flying, if you look behind you, we'll start flying a system at about 50 to 52 degrees west if this is a system coming across the Atlantic. That gives the hurricane specialist about 36 or 48 hours prior to when a system can affect land. Basically we're talking the Leeward Islands. And then we'll continue to fly it till it either goes inland, dissipates, turns, or whatever. We'll fly it sometimes, especially the ones that we start way out there and they go all the way into the Gulf. We may fly them as many as 8 to 9 days. So basically, there's a lot of flying goes on here. We have, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Which one is your most common plane that you guys send out to the hurricanes?
The WC-130, it's the military aircraft,
Okay.
very equivalent to a regular 130, except it has a lot more instrumentation on it.
Okay.
And, yes, go ahead.
Is that plane up there, like the one over there,
The
on the
jet?
left-hand side, is that one commonly used?
Yes, it is, and I'll get to why we use that in just a second. Actually, the hardest part we have is finding little people that can fit in the plane. The last type of